Morning. My name is Narayan. I lead the product management team at VMware. It's great to see you all. I have been leading this project since day one, so it's really exciting to be here to share some of the details at a high level, save all the difficult questions for later. But it's definitely exciting to be here. And my goal here is to talk about the overview and strategy for VMware Cloud and AWS. Before we get into that, at a high level, VMware's infrastructure vision is really focused on providing a globally consistent infrastructure stack across the world to our customers and partners and delivered as a service. That's our North Star vision. But it's really exciting to talk about the one big service that we have launched in the last 18 months called VMware Cloud and AWS. And just to really quickly look at this particular service offering, we brought the best of VMware and AWS together as we launched this service offering. And most of you would have seen the capabilities of VMware, obviously, the enterprise capabilities of VMware, all of the capabilities of AWS in terms of their global reach and cloud services. We believe that this is truly a customer-defined solution. And we have seen tremendous progress in our customers as they've adopted this service in the last 18 months. And we'll talk about some of those details today. But just to talk about where we are with the AWS partnership, we launched the partnership in 2016 when Pat and Andy stood up on stage in San Francisco. Then we launched the first iteration of our service, VMware Cloud on AWS, in August 2017. So we've been shipping for about 18 months now. Then we launched step 2 of the partnership, the AWS RDS on vSphere, which we launched back in VMware last year. And then finally, at reInvent, in December 2018, we launched the announcement for VMware Cloud on AWS Outposts and VMware Cloud Foundation on EC2 Outposts. So this has been our journey with AWS, and it's really, really exciting that we are covering a lot of ground in this relationship. Our focus for today is VMware Cloud on AWS, and we'll get into a lot of details for this particular service offering with all of the assembled speakers today. At a super high level, I'm sure many of you would have seen this already. It's a 3-part solution for our customers and partners. The central part here is all about the core SDDC offering, vSphere, vSAN, NSX. It's all there for every single customer and partner to use. That's sitting on AWS bare metal hardware across global regions. We have many different hardware types. Today, we primarily have the i3 .metal instance type. We'll talk a little bit more about that. On your left, we have the hybrid aspects of the service. We are able to connect the service using networking, such as AWS Direct Connect, and VMware technologies, such as hybrid linked mode, and really present a unified inventory interface to our end customers when we connect the vCenter in the cloud to the vCenter on-prem. And this is really powerful. This is really a big piece of our hybrid offering. And then on top of this, we have the same set of solutions that many, many of our customers have been using for the last several years. So the vRealize ecosystem, we have Power CLI, we have the same exact vCenter UI and API interface that's exposed in this offering. And so a lot of partner tools also work. We have support for 130+ partner solutions as well. So it's a really, really good ecosystem that we have brought together along with us. So on your right, we connect with AWS services as well. This SDDC in the cloud is not an island. It connects easily to the broad set of AWS services through a high-speed, low-latency network connectivity with no egress costs. So this is really powerful because this enables our customers to get the best of the SDDC, but also extend their applications into AWS, into a Redshift, into an S3 bucket, and so on. So this combination, we believe, is really, really powerful. And many of our customers have been leveraging all of these capabilities as part of VMware Cloud and AWS. The other thing about this service is this is fully sold and supported by VMware. You interact with VMware. You get a single bill from VMware. You have a single support point with VMware. We are the one throat to choke in this model. And then from a consumption standpoint, you can consume this service in a few flexible options. It's very cloud-like in the sense that you can consume the service as hourly on demand. You can also consume this based on 1 year or 3 year reservations. Right? All of those capabilities are available to customers. So let's talk about what we have accomplished in the last 18 months. And so we've been shipping constantly over the last 18 months. We've been releasing code every week, every quarter. We've been going at a pretty fast pace. And so a few quick highlights, right? So the first highlight is we have shipped a very large number of features as part of the service offering. We are now available in 13 global regions around the world, 12 commercial, and 1 GovCloud region in the US. Each of these regions has anywhere from 1 to 3 availability zones that we support. So we are available in a lot of availability zones across these regions. We have been deploying the SDDC code frequently. This is a service, obviously, right? VMware updates and patches the SDDC offerings on behalf of the customers. And so we have been able to push out major and minor SDDC patches and upgrades quite a bit, 16 times in the last 18 months. So that's quite a bit. And customers don't have to do this. VMware does all of these maintenance activities on behalf of customers. And then our SLAs, it's an interesting point. We actually provide a really good SLA if customers run a stretch cluster, right? A stretch cluster really means that you can spread your cluster across 2 AWS availability zones in the same region. And this is a complex piece of engineering, but at the end of the day, it provides customers the benefit of running their applications in high availability mode, even if an AWS AZ were to go down or have a problem.
Can I just ask a quick question? Is that the SLA that you're contractually tying yourselves to, or is that
correct.
just okay?
For the stretch clusters, we're contractually listing that SLA of 4 nines.
And that's a yearly 24/7 or monthly SLA?
That's enforced at the monthly level.
Okay.
Yes. And there's a whole SLA document online that we list all the details of SLA credits back and so on and so forth.
So what does it apply to specifically? Because I imagine it's not for the VMs, it's for some layer lower than that. So what's the scope of the SLA?
Yeah. The scope of the SLA, again, it's a very long discussion, but at a high level, the scope of the SLA is the uptime of your vCenter, and then it's the uptime of your VMs, right? That's basically what's contained. And there's a third piece of it, which is the network edge piece of it as well, right? Those are the broad parameters. It's interesting that it's very different from the other public cloud providers, obviously. It's a very sort of VMware version of the SLA. We work very hard to sort of write down some of those details. But just to be very clear, for a single AZ SDDCs, we provide 3 nines only, right? Because if there's an AZ problem, then there could be issues. But for a stretch cluster, we provide 4 nines of SLA.
And that covers, presumably, because your stretch cluster, you can stretch AZs, the failure of an AZ is still covered by that SLA.
That is correct. And we have already seen that in action. And I'll talk about an example a little later on. OK, so a couple of other data points, right? So if you think about the complexity involved in racking and stacking hardware, and then software on top of that, configuring it, and then giving it to your lines of businesses to install applications, virtual machines, et cetera, that's a whole sort of very, very difficult proposition typically in the on-prem environment. What we've done in the cloud is it takes us about 90 minutes to set up. The moment a user communicates to us that they need 3 nodes or 4 nodes for an SDDC, it takes us about 90 minutes to spin up the hosts, install the SDDC components, configure it, make it ready for consumption, right? So it's literally over a lunch you can configure a fully functional SDDC, and many customers have told us that they really enjoy the speed at which they can get that ready for their production deployments. The other parts of this is you start with there's a longer time to get started, 90 minutes. We still think it's long. We're trying to sort of force that down even more. But then the time to add capacity is faster, right? In a running SDDC with running clusters, you can add more hosts to the cluster, right? We're in the range of anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. This is not an SLA number. This is just a reference number in terms of how we are doing. And so it's much easier to add hosts to running cluster And this is why customers, we don't tell customers to run at 30% or 40% capacity, right, as they typically do on-prem. In the cloud, they can run much harder. They can run much harder because they can get new hosts faster and additional capacity much faster. And then the other sort of part of the service that's very interesting and unique is we interact with our customers actively. And so we've introduced the notion of chat support, right, which is fairly unique within VMware. And so customers are able to talk to a technical person on the other side at VMware and get a response typically under 1 minute, right? And so that starts a conversation. And we have multiple conversations every single day with our customers. And that's extremely fulfilling for us to sort of get that feedback and resolve a pain point or just answer a very simple question as well at certain times, right? In other cases, a very complex VPN configuration or how do you set up DR or so we find that very, very enriching in having that sort of direct connectivity with our customers using chat. And so our support satisfaction as a result is pretty high at this point in time. Okay, so a quick look at some of the customers. This is just a snapshot, right? It's not exhaustive, but over the last 18 months, we have seen adoption across a variety of segments and industries. I mean, it's just many people ask me the question, where is VMware Cloud and AWS being adopted? Which industry, which segment? And the answer is across the board, right? So we've seen wide adoption. It's been very, very encouraging to see the level of interest, the level of adoption, level of production deployments running on the VMware Cloud and AWS service today. I just wanted to drill into one specific customer example. This is my favorite ones. There are others on our website. So Stagecoach is a large transportation provider in the UK. And so Stagecoach has mission-critical applications that track the coordinates for thousands of buses and trains in the UK, right, every few seconds. And so these mission-critical applications, it was a tall order to sort of move them to the cloud, right? One, they had a cloud mandate that they had to move to the cloud. And number two, they had a mandate to make these highly performant applications, highly mission-critical applications live in the cloud without downtime, et cetera, right? And so with VMware Cloud and AWS, it was a really good choice for them because we were able to move their applications to the cloud using our technologies, which we'll talk about today. But then we were also able to land them on the cloud on a stretched cluster. And so the stretched cluster notion in the London data center was really, London region rather, was really useful. How many of you actually saw the London, little power blip in the London region a couple of months ago? The little blip. I hope you observed that, especially the VMware folks. But that blip, it's a little power blip. It's public information on the AWS status pages. That caused no problem for Stagecoach because they were running on a stretched cluster, right? And none of their applications experienced any issues simply because they were running in the stretched cluster configuration. So very, very powerful use case, and we were very happy to see that this year. Okay, so I wanted to, about 5 minutes left, so shift gears and talk about a little bit about roadmap. And so one of the things about being a product manager is really frustrating is having to write PowerPoint presentations and we roadmap and so on. So what we did with VMware Cloud and AWS, a little bit unique. We put up our roadmap online, right? And so you can take a look at our roadmap online at that URL. And we believe in being very, very transparent in terms of communicating the areas that we are working on. And we've gotten really good feedback from customers based on the data that we have been very, very public about. And so we welcome you to sort of visit that and provide us commentary on this. I wanted to touch on a couple of areas of the roadmap today in the limited time that I have. One is really talk about global region rollout. Just since we launched the service on day one, we launched in one region, in the Oregon region, right? We just got like an amazing amount of response to say, when is it going to come to Frankfurt? When is it going to come to Sydney, right? So there was this sort of pent-up demand about sort of just expanding around the world, right? AWS has 19 odd regions right now, right? Growing constantly. And so we sort of took that feedback internally, and then we found a way to sort of plan a more aggressive region rollout, right? And the good news is it's the same SDDC, whether it's running in Sydney or whether it's running in Frankfurt or whether it's running in Oregon, right? That's the beauty. It's globally consistent infrastructure. And so now, about 18 months, we are live in 12 commercial regions and 1 US GovCloud region, which is pretty phenomenal. And from a roadmap standpoint, we have publicly communicated that we will be live in all the commercial regions that AWS was live in as of last year, August, when we made the announcement. We'll go to all of those regions this year, right? So we are seeing tremendous growth in all of these regions that we are live in today, and we'll fill all the gaps shortly. Okay, so other parts of the roadmap. So it's a very long roadmap. There's a lot of interest across a variety of areas. I just wanted to focus on a few critical elements that I've been tracking more recently. So we have seen customers really, many customers who are consolidating data centers or even abandoning data centers in some cases and moving up to the cloud, to VMware Cloud and AWS. And so there's this really big demand for, give me more sort of, dense storage combinations, right? So give me servers which has more storage. Give me more storage options in the cloud, right? As I'm sort of moving my mission critical databases and moving my other applications into the cloud. So that's a really good feedback that we've gotten. We're working on a variety of areas, to provide a lot more storage options in the cloud. We have publicly blogged about the elastic vSAN capabilities that will come to market shortly. We've announced the capability already. We've blogged about it. We are constantly improving that capability in the future as well with more hot add, hot remove type of capabilities, so that you don't only have to make a decision at provisioning time. You can make a decision about storage, adding and removing storage later on, right, when your production applications are running and when you need incremental storage, right? So that's one area we're working on. We're also working on additional instance types in our partnership with AWS to see how we can provide a lot more dense storage in an HCI format in the instance type from AWS. Other areas, right? We get a lot of feedback on, well, it's a 3-node cluster, that's great. We have a 3-for-2 promo going on, which is useful to get started. When are you going to really give me a 2-node, right? And this is something that we've been working on to get started for many production deployments or even dev test deployments. How can we get them started on a smaller cluster? Note that we already have a 1-node cluster out there today. We've been shipping that for the last several months. Today, the 1-node has a timeout of 30 days because we don't patch it, right? So we time out the 1-node SDDC in 30 days. We are working on elongating that a lot more, making that a lot more persistent, right? It's a harder problem to solve, right? But we're working on it. But in general, we are working to sort of reduce the point of entry and get started in a much smaller and cost-effective way. There are a number of areas in networking that we've been working on. This is a huge area for us. I mean, you all know about NSX. That's already included as part of VMware Cloud and AWS. We're constantly unlocking all of the capabilities of NSX, but we're also looking to integrate with all of the new capabilities of AWS. Many of you would have heard about the Transit Gateway announcement from reInvent this year, from last year rather. And so Transit Gateway is a very nice capability, provides a really good cloud architecture model for hub and spoke and connecting multiple VPCs together. We've already blogged about how we can do a very lightweight integration with Transit Gateways today, but we're working on a lot more native integrations with Transit Gateway. And we are constantly even looking at our networking stack and improving scale for many customer demands that we are getting, right? So look out for networking. It's a big area for us. Other AWS integrations, integrating with AWS IAM is also on our roadmap. More instance types, I talked about that already. We're looking at, AWS has a variety of metal types already in their portfolio right now. We're constantly looking to integrate with the right ones for the VMware customers. And then FedRAMP, huge focus area for us. FedRAMP is, we just got past FedRAMP ready. We are now listed on the FedRAMP GovCloud website as a registered entity. The next step for us is to actually complete the Impact Level 4, Impact Level 5 certification for FedRAMP High, which many of our customers are asking for in the US GovCloud region. And we are well on our way to accomplishing that. Beyond that, we're looking at a variety of compliance regimes in the local countries that we operate in. If you look at our website, we already have 10 to 12 compliance certifications already chalked up. We are looking to improve on that with country-specific compliance regimes, whether it's IRAP in Australia, whether it's MTCS in Singapore, or other country-specific certifications. So that's an ongoing effort for us. And then on the maintenance side, again, customers are trusting us with their mission-critical workloads. We are operating this service on their behalf. We're constantly making improvements on the maintenance side. And then in the broader product portfolio, we're working across all VMware products and really trying to present more integrated experiences across the VMware stack to our end customers. There's a lot of work going on there as well. OK, so that was a really, really quick snapshot of our roadmap. There's a lot more information online, and we're constantly being asked for questions online, and we encourage those. And please reach out to us in case you have any more questions or comments. Thank you very much.